When scrap metal meets crystal ships, the UES Wanderer groaned through space like an old man climbing stairs. Her hull, a patchwork of replacement panels from a dozen different manufacturers, told the story of 30 years hauling cargo between Earth's outer colonies. Paint had long since given way to primer, and primer had given way to bare metal in most places. But she flew, and that was all Captain Alina Rodriguez cared about. Rodriguez sat in the command chair that had been reupholstered more times than she could count, watching the starfield drift past the view screen. The screen itself was an ancient LCD monitor salvaged from a decommissioned station, held in place by a mounting bracket that Chief Engineer Marcus Chen had welded himself. It flickered occasionally, but it worked. 2 hours to Kepler Station, announced Navigator Sarah Kim. From her station, the young woman had joined the crew fresh from the academy, expecting assignment to a modern frigate. Instead, she'd found herself on the Wanderer, learning that half the navigation systems were manual backups and the other half were held together with determination and spare parts. "Copy that, Sarah," Rodriguez replied. Behind her, she could hear Chen muttering to himself in the engine room, probably coaxing another few thousand hours out of systems that should have been replaced decades ago. The man was a wizard with duct tape and prayer. The Wanderer carried 60 tons of medical supplies, food, and manufacturing components to the frontier colonies. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was necessary. The big corporate haulers wouldn't make runs to stations that couldn't guarantee premium docking fees. That left the independents like Rodriguez to keep the outer rim supplied. Chen appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on a rag that had once been white. "Cap, I've got the fusion reactor running smooth as silk, but we're going to need new coolant. Pumps at Kepler. These ones are held together with hope and good intentions." "Add it to the list," Rodriguez said. The list was 3 pages long and growing. "At least the defensive systems are solid," Chen grinned. "Added another layer of ablative armor last month. And those point defense guns are military surplus from the Titan War. They don't make them like that anymore." Rodriguez nodded. The Wanderer might look like a junk heap, but previous captains had learned the hard way that space was dangerous. Pirates, debris fields, solar flares, anything that could kill you probably would, eventually. So they'd armored her like a battleship and armed her like a gunboat. It made her slow and ugly, but it kept the crew alive. The proximity alarm chose that moment to scream. "Contact," Sarah shouted, her hands flying over her console. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, bearing 27 Mark V. Rodriguez was out of her chair instantly. "How many?" "6, ... No, 8 vessels. Configuration unknown. They're beautiful, Cap." The main screen shifted to show the newcomers. Rodriguez felt her breath catch. The ships were works of art, all flowing curves and crystalline surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. They moved with impossible grace, as if swimming through space rather than flying. "Hail them," Rodriguez ordered. Sarah's fingers danced across her board. Channel open. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Alina Rodriguez of the United Earthship. Wanderer, please state your intentions." The response came not through the CUM system, but directly into their minds. The voice was melodious, alien, and utterly condescending. "Primitive creatures, we are the Kethfer Collective. Your crude vessel pollutes this sector with its presence. You will surrender immediately for processing." Rodriguez felt her jaw tighten. She dealt with pirates, corporate security, and military bureaucrats, but nothing quite this arrogant. "Negative, unknown vessels. We're in free space conducting legitimate commerce. We have no intention of surrendering to anyone. Your refusal is irrelevant. Observe the futility of resistance. One of the crystalline ships moved closer, and energy began to build along its surface. Rodriguez had seen enough weapon charging cycles to recognize the signs. "Battle stations," she shouted. "Chen, get to engineering. Sarah, evasive maneuvers." The Wanderer might be old, but her crew knew their jobs. Chen disappeared toward the engine room while Sarah's hands flew over the helm controls. The old cargo hauler began a ponderous turn, bringing her bow round to face the threat. The alien ship fired. A lance of coherent energy struck the Wanderer's forward shields. The lights dimmed, and the deck shuddered, but the shields held. Rodriguez checked her tactical display and blinked in surprise. "Shields at 87%, she reported. "That's it." Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. "Cap, their energy weapon just tickled our primary deflectors. Those military-grade generators are handling it fine." The alien voice returned, and for the first time, it carried a note of surprise. "Impossible. Our weapons easily penetrate primitive matter shields." "Maybe you need to recalibrate," Rodriguez suggested helpfully. "Chen, warm up the point defense." "System, you dare mock the HFY Collective. Witness superior technology." All 8 ships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of various colors and intensities hammered the Wanderer from multiple angles. Inside the bridge, the lights flickered and several console screens went dark, but the ship held together. "Shields at 60%, Sarah reported. "Hull breach." "On deck 3, but the emergency bulkheads are holding." Rodriguez grabbed the CUM microphone. "Attention, HFY Collective. You're being rude. Stop it." The firing ceased abruptly. When the alien voice returned, it carried a note of confusion that Rodriguez found oddly satisfying. "Your vessel should be debris. Our scanners show primitive technology, yet you resist weapons that have destroyed battle fleets. See, that's your problem right there." Chen's voice came over the ship's PA system. He'd patched into the communications array. "You're used to fighting people who build elegant, efficient ships. We're humans. We build things that are too tough to die." Rodriguez grinned. Chen was in his element now. "This old girl's got 3 titanium steel composite armor," the engineer continued conversationally. "Why? Because the original designer was paranoid about asteroid impacts. The shields are military surplus from a dreadnought because we got them cheap at auction. Our hull has 17 separate compartments because humans are scared of space and like backup plans for our backup plans. This is impossible. No species builds vessels with such redundancy." "You obviously haven't met humans," Rodriguez said. "We over-engineer everything because we assume the universe is trying to kill us. Usually, we're right." 2 more alien ships moved into attack position, their weapons charged with ominous purpose. "Cap," Sarah called out, "I'm reading massive energy build up. This is going to be a big one. All hands, brace for impact." Rodriguez shouted. The combined barrage was spectacular. Energy beams, particle weapons, and exotic matter projectors hammered the Wanderer for 30 solid seconds. The bridge lights went out completely, replaced by the red glow of emergency power. Sparks flew from overloaded systems, and the deck plates groaned under the assault. When it was over, Rodriguez pulled herself back into her chair and checked the status boards. Half the screens were dark, but the important ones still functioned. "Damage report." Chun's voice came through static. "Shields are gone. We've got hull breaches on forward decks, and the coffee machine is completely dead. But we're still flying. Cap, Rodriguez keyed the external com. HFY Collective. This is Rodriguez. You just woke up my crew's coffee addiction. Now you've made it personal. What are you? The alien voice had lost all its musical quality, replaced by something approaching. Panic. We're humans, Rodriguez said simply. We're stubborn, paranoid, and we don't know when to quit. We build our ships like flying fortresses because space scares us. We use manual backups for everything because we don't trust computers. And we never, ever give up. Sarah suddenly straightened at her station. Cap, I'm reading hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts incoming. More of them, Rodriguez asked. No, these are human signatures. 3 ships, all independents like us. The newcomers dropped out of hyperspace in a defensive formation. Rodriguez recognized the configurations immediately. Another cargo hauler, a mining barge, and what looked like a converted passenger liner. All of them showed the same patchwork appearance as the Wanderer. The telltale signs of ships maintained by crews who made do with what they had. The lead ship's captain appeared on screen. A grizzled man with steel-gray hair and laugh lines around his eyes. Elena Rodriguez, you crazy woman. What have you gotten yourself into now? Hey, Jake Rodriguez grinned. Just making some new friends. They seem a little upset about our interior decorating. Jake Morrison had been running freight longer than Rodriguez had been alive. His ship, the Free Trader, looked even more battered than the Wanderer, but Rodriguez knew it was just as tough. Well, Morrison drawled, studying the alien ships on his own screens. They sure are pretty. Shame they've got no manners. You need some backup. I wouldn't say no to company. The 3 human ships moved into a loose defensive formation around the Wanderer. They were all different classes, different manufacturers, different eras, but they shared the same philosophy, built to last, built to survive, built by people who expected the worst and prepared for it, for primitive vessels. Now the alien voice carried disbelief. Your species sends antiques to fight our most advanced fleet units. Antiques. Morrison's voice carried mock offense. I'll have you know, the Free Trader is a classic. They don't make cargo haulers like this anymore, with some actual backbone. The captain of the mining barge, a woman named Torres, chimed in. These old girls might not be pretty, but they'll keep flying when your fancy crystal ships are spare parts. Rodriguez watched the alien formation. The sleek vessels had pulled back, maintaining distance. They seemed uncertain, confused by opponents who refused to follow the script. This is not possible. We are the HFY Collective. We have conquered 17 star systems. Our technology is superior in every measure. Technology isn't everything, Rodriguez said. Sometimes it's about who wants it more. The standoff stretched on. 8 crystalline ships of incomprehensible technology faced for battered human cargo vessels held together with spare parts and stubbornness. By every logical measure, it should have been a massacre. Instead, it was becoming something else entirely. Asterisk, how humans turn impossible into inevitable. The silence stretched across space like a held breath. 8 ships of the HFY Collective, each one a masterpiece of advanced engineering, faced 4 human cargo vessels that looked like they'd been assembled in a scrapyard. By every measure of logic, technology, and military doctrine, this should have been over in minutes, Gopton. Elena Rodriguez studied the tactical display on her flickering screen. The alien ships maintained their distance. their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. They were beautiful, elegant, and completely lethal. They were also, she realized, hesitating. Cap, chief engineer. Marcus Jen's voice crackled through the damaged intercom system. I've got partial shields back online. Don't ask me how, but the secondary generators are holding steady. Also, I managed to reroute power from the cargo bay lights to the point. Defense grid. Good work, Marcus. How's our structural integrity? Well, we've got 17 hull breaches, but they're all sealed now. Lost to cargo containers, but the medical supplies are secure. Oh, and I rigged a bypass for the coffee machine. Priorities. You know, Rodriguez couldn't help but smile. Trust Chen to fix the coffee machine in the middle of a battle. It was exactly the kind of human thinking that seemed to confuse their alien adversaries. Navigator Sarah Kim looked up from her station, her young face determined despite the stress of the situation. Cap, I'm reading increased energy signatures. From the alien ships, they're powering up again. All ships, this is Rodriguez. Looks like our new friends want another dance. Stay tight and watch each other's backs. The voice of Jake Morrison from the Free Trader came through clearly. Copy that, Elena Torres. You and the Sunset Express take the left flank. We'll cover the right. Captain Maria Torres of the mining barge acknowledged with her usual dry humor. Roger, the old rock breakers been through worse than this. Remember, the Vega asteroid field incident. How could I forget? Morrison chuckled. You held off 3 pirate ships with nothing but mining charges and sheer bloody-mindedness. The captain of the converted passenger liner, David Park, added his voice to the conversation. The Sunset Express might not look like much, but she's got passenger liner hull plating, built to survive anything space can throw at her. Rodriguez felt a surge of pride. This was what humans did best. They adapted, they supported each other, and they refused to give up. These weren't military vessels crewed by trained soldiers. They were ordinary people doing extraordinary things because someone had to. The Kethva formation shifted, spreading out to surround the human ships. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, each vessel responding to some unheard signal with mechanical precision. Inferior beings. The alien voice resonated directly in their minds. Your resistance ends now. We will demonstrate the true power of the collective. What followed was the most intense barrage Rodriguez had ever experienced. The 8 alien ships unleashed everything they had. Energy weapons that could vaporize mountains, gravity manipulators that twisted space itself, and exotic matter projectors that ate through conventional armor like acid through paper. The 4 human ships responded in the most human way possible. They held on and kept fighting. The Wanderer shuddered under the assault, her ancient hull groaning but holding. Rodriguez watched her damaged displays climb steadily higher, but the ship refused to break apart. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in red as secondary systems took over from the primary ones. Hull breach on Deck 7, Sarah reported. Emergency. Bulkheads are holding, but we've lost the backup navigation array. Shields down to 15%. Chun's voice carried strain but no panic, switching to tertiary generators. Over the com, Rodriguez could hear similar reports from the other ships. Torres was fighting fires in her cargo bay. Morrison had lost his main engines, but switched to the backup fusion plant he'd installed just in case. Park was flying on manual control after his navigation computer was fried by an energy surge, but they were all still flying. This is impossible. The alien voice carried genuine shock now. Your vessels should be destroyed. Our weapons have ended. Civilizations. Maybe you were fighting the wrong civilizations, Rodriguez gasped, pulling herself back into her chair after another violent impact. Chen, status report. Cap, this is where it gets interesting. Chen's voice carried that particular tone that meant he was about to do something brilliant and probably insane. I've been analyzing their weapon signatures, and I think I know why they're not doing as much damage as they expect. I'm listening. They're using precisely calibrated energy outputs designed to overwhelm specific types of defensive systems. It's like they have a formula for how much power it takes to destroy a ship of a given mass and configuration. Rodriguez frowned. And we don't fit the formula, Cap. Our ships are built all wrong according to their calculations. They expect our armor to be a certain thickness, our shields to have specific resonance frequencies, our hull materials to have particular melting points. But human engineering is chaos. Sarah looked up from her station. What do you mean? Chun's excitement was evident even through the static. Look at us. The Wanderer's got armor plating from 6 different manufacturers. Our shields are military surplus, running on power systems designed for a mining station. Half our hull patches are made from materials that didn't exist when the ship was built. We're not one ship, we're a flying collection of spare parts. And good intentions. Morrison's voice came over the Chen's right. My ship's got hull plating from a battleship, engines from a scout, and life support systems from a luxury yacht. I built her from salvage because it was cheap, not because it made sense. Torres laughed grimly as another explosion rocked her. Ship, the rock breakers got mining laser arrays that can cut through asteroids, but they're powered by a fusion reactor meant for a space station. Nothing about her makes sense on paper. Your vessels are abominations. The alien voice carried what might have been panic. No species builds ships from random components. It violates every principle of efficient design. Efficient, Rodriguez laughed, feeling punch-drunk from the sustained battle. Who said anything about efficient? We build ships at work. Park's calm voice added to the conversation. The Sunset Express was designed to carry 1,000 passengers in comfort. Then I ripped out half the passenger decks and installed cargo bays, added military-grade armor because I was paranoid, and upgraded the engines because I like going fast. She's not supposed to exist according to any design manual. Rodriguez realized what was happening. The Kethver Collective had perfected warfare against logical opponents who built ships according to rational design principles. They had encountered species that valued efficiency, elegance, and technological sophistication. They had never fought humans. You want to know what you're really fighting? Rodriguez asked, keying her to broadcast to the alien fleet. You're fighting human, stubborn. You're fighting our refusal to accept that anything is impossible. You're fighting 30 years of make it work with what you've got. And there's got to be a way, and I don't care what the manual says. Hold my coffee and watch this. Another barrage struck the human formation. This time, Rodriguez noticed something different. The alien weapons seemed less focused, less coordinated. The perfectly orchestrated assault was breaking down. Double quotes, Sarah, are you seeing this? The young navigator nodded, studying her instruments with growing excitement. Their formation is falling apart, Cap. They're not coordinating like they were before. Chen's voice carried triumph. It's because we're not reacting like we're supposed to. Their tactical computers are trying to predict our behavior, but we're not following any known patterns. How do you predict what a human will do when the human doesn't know what they're going to do? As if to prove his point, Torres suddenly broke formation and charged directly at the nearest alien ship. Her mining barge, never designed for combat, plowed through the space between the formations like an angry mountain. "What are you doing, Maria?" Morrison shouted. "Something stupid," Torres replied cheerfully. "Hold my beer and watch this." The rock breakers, mining lasers, designed to carve up asteroids, focused on a single point on the alien ship's hull, the crystalline surface, which had shrugged off. Military-grade energy weapons began to crack under the sustained industrial-strength cutting beam. "Impossible. Our hulls are impervious to energy weapons." "Those aren't energy weapons," Torres laughed. "They're mining tools. I use them to cut up rocks for a living." The alien ship tried to retreat, but Morrison was already moving to support Torres. The Free Trader's jury-rigged missile system, actually modified cargo pods filled with industrial explosives, launched a barrage at the damaged crystalline hull. Park brought the Sunset Express around from the other side, her oversized engines pushing the converted liner faster than anything that size had any right to move. Her point defense systems, upgraded far beyond passenger liner standards, raked the alien formation with sustained fire. Rodriguez realized this was their moment. "Wanderer, attack pattern, Crazy Human Delta." "What's attack pattern, Crazy Human Delta?" Sarah asked. "I have no idea, but it sounds like something we'd do." Rodriguez grinned. "Chen, give me everything we've got." The Wanderer surged forward, her ancient engines roaring with power that should have torn them apart decades ago. Her point defense grid, a mixture of military surplus weapons held together with determination and prayer, opened fire on anything that looked important. The alien formation disintegrated into chaos. Ships that had moved with perfect coordination moments before now scattered in all directions, their tactical computers overwhelmed by opponents who refused to behave rationally. "Withdraw, withdraw." The alien commander's voice carried panic and confusion. "These creatures are insane. They fight without logic, without pattern, without reason." "We fight with heart," Rodriguez said simply. One by one, the Kethva ships began to retreat, opening hyperspace windows and fleeing back to whatever corner of the galaxy they'd come from. The last ship to leave paused just long enough for a final transmission. "We will mark your species as unpredictable combat variables. Your territory will be designated as hazardous to collective interests. We do not understand you. You don't have to understand us," Rodriguez replied. "You just have to leave us alone." The alien ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving the 4 human vessels alone among the stars. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Morrison's laughter filled the comm channel. "Well, that happened," he said. "Anyone else feel like they just convinced the universe that humans are too crazy to mess with?" "I'll drink to that," Torres agreed. "Soon as I put out this fire in Cargo Bay 3, Rodriguez leaned back in her battered captain's chair and looked around her damaged bridge. The Wanderer was held together with spare parts, determination, and a crew that refused to quit. She was slow, ugly, inefficient, and completely illogical. She was also legendary now. "Sarah, set course for Kepler Station," Rodriguez said. "We've got a delivery to make." Cap. Course laid in. As the Wanderer limped toward her destination, Rodriguez couldn't help but smile. The Kethva Collective had learned something important today. Never underestimate a species that builds ships like flying fortresses and crews them with people too stubborn to know when they're beaten. In the years that followed, the story of the 4 cargo ships that fought off an alien armada would spread throughout human space. The Wanderer and her crew would become legends, symbols of human determination and ingenuity. But Alina Rodriguez would always remember it differently. It wasn't about superior firepower or advanced technology. It was about ordinary people doing extraordinary things because someone had to. It was about refusing to give up, even when the odds were impossible. It was about being human.